Welcome to Promoting Family Support for Youth with Mental Health Needs, part of the Pathways Transition Video Brief series. In this transition training video brief, Corinne Spiegel, formerly of Jewish Child and Family Services, and Dr. Ajit Jetmalani, Director of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry at Oregon Health and Science University, recommend pursuing strategies to promote family support for young people with mental health needs. Suggestions include helping families to understand their youth's diagnosis and gain needed support for themselves, and encouraging families' support for their youth within legal requirements for youth privacy.
Well, certainly relationships are always evolving, and in most families when they have teens and young adults, the teens are maturing and changing, but with those dealing with mental illness, it puts a whole new level of stress and difficulty with both the families and the providers working with them. So I think it's important to remember that the family dynamics are changing all the time, just as the relationship between the young adult and their parents are evolving. I think it's very important that we recognize that young adults are influenced a lot by their peers, maybe more so than with their parents, and they're watching peers who are becoming more independent and leaving home or going to college or joining the military at a time when the young adult is feeling shrouded by the mental illness, trapped by it even, and the families who have always been strong advocates, even under the best of circumstances, are overwhelmed with these changes and don't feel that they have the control they had when their children were younger. So recognizing the family dynamics and how they are changing is really important as the providers give support to families and young adults alike. Many times families are not even aware of what the diagnosis means. They may only be hearing about the diagnosis from their young adult who has just come back from a doctor's appointment, for example, and they may have heard of a particular mental illness, but they don't understand it completely. So getting a good explanation from somebody who understands the implications of that diagnosis really matters. The provider might be the person who can best explain how that diagnosis may affect behavior, how it may affect challenges in their behavior, and certainly side effects that they should be watching for. That doctors don't always have the time to meet with parents, and they certainly aren't obligated by law to meet with parents of adult children to tell them what's going on. So hearing more from a provider is really beneficial to everybody.
We as a society tend to believe that a successful youth somehow should have a parentectomy by the time they're 18. And that they really should be independent of their parents. And if they're not independent, there's something wrong. And we even have laws that make us think that that's the case. We have laws that say, when you go to college, we, the college, are not going to communicate with your parents, even if you're flunking out, suicidal, have overdosed, been in the emergency room. We're not going to communicate because we're respecting your privacy. Or we have laws that say, well, if I see somebody in my office and they're 19 years old and I'm really worried about their safety, HIPAA, really I shouldn't communicate with their parents. That is completely a misunderstanding of the law. The law was never intended to practice medicine or to manage and support college students in a way that involves removing the family from a young person's support. Unless a young person has had significant abuse or there's a reason not to bring family into the support system, it's really critical when youth are struggling that we help them to recognize that it's not a failing to remain somewhat engaged with your family, and they may be your greatest resource they should be your greatest resource at moments of extreme challenge.
A lot of parents don't realize that there are other families like theirs in the community, and so making the connection with other families in a support group is really critical. So if a provider can find or help the family find a support group that can be helpful for them, it could be through an organization such as NAMI, it could be through a religious institution, it could be from a neighborhood community approach, but to connect with other families who have similar situations provides the kind of acceptance that the parents feel they need while they're dealing with all of these issues as well. And it does lead into a lifelong connection with people who thoroughly understand the issues they're dealing with. I am a strong advocate of parents networking together. Many times at some of the parent groups that I've led, parents are sitting there for an hour talking about which psychiatrist to see about a particular issue, and some will dismiss certain ones right away and say, oh, he doesn't have the time and doesn't have the effort, and others will come up with a name, and all of a sudden somebody else will say, oh yeah, he's great. And so even the networking about the professionals that are in the community help the parents a lot. They also can discuss the things that they like and don't like about medical care or insurance policies, or about other supports in the community. And there's nothing like sharing with experienced parents when it comes to getting support for the issues that you're dealing with as a parent.
Discussion questions and resources on promoting family support can be found through the link on this slide. A live link can be found on the YouTube channel description of this video brief. We'd like to acknowledge support from the National Institute of Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, and the Center for Mental Health Services, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.